Hello and welcome to the Tough Girl Podcast, a 3-time award-winning show that aims to motivate and inspire you while increasing the amount of female role models in the media, especially in relation to adventure and physical challenges. I'm your host, Sarah Williams. If you're passionate about adventure, challenge and learning from women who have overcome obstacles and achieved remarkable things, then this is the podcast for you. Every Tuesday at 7 a.m, new episodes go live featuring incredible women who share their stories, insights and tips to help you achieve your dreams and goals. You can support the Tough Girl mission by signing up as a patron. Visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. Keep listening until the very end as I share more information about what's going on with me with Tough Girl Challenges, give shout outs and recommend other Tough Girl Podcast episodes. More information can be found at toughgirlchallenges.com.
I'm Charlotte Young Bowens. First and foremost, thank you so much for sharing your platform with me, allowing me to be amongst the many amazing women sharing their stories about the outdoors with the world. And so I'm just humbled and honored to be here. I am actually from a town called Ann Arbor, Michigan. Most people know where it is because it's where the University of Michigan is. That's where I grew up. I tell people my outdoor adventure probably started with Girl Scouts. I loved going camping, so much so that when I asked my troop leader, can we go on more camping trips? She says, well, we need money to go on camping trips. And I was like, well, how do we get the money? She says, well, you sell Girl Scout cookies. And so that next year I sold so many cookies. I was the number one seller of Girl Scout cookies in the state of Michigan for 1 year. And that was because I wanted to raise so much money to go camping and be outdoors. And I think a lot of that's fun for my mom, who took us to the South, to Tennessee. And we spent when we would go visit, her parents and my great grandparents, we spent a lot of time outdoors. And so while I don't really feel like I had an outdoor experience per se, like kind of something that was arranged for me to love the outdoors, I think I just naturally and intuitively love the outdoors. So I lived in Ann Arbor for most of my life. I went to college, got a degree in math and science, ended up working at the university in research administration, which is what I've probably been doing, looks like now, for almost 12 or plus years. I tell people that I had kids. I got pregnant young, 16. So I was a teenage mom. And so I was a single mom, have 3 kids for the bulk, well, I guess my whole life. And I think as a result of that, I really, really didn't prioritize health and fitness because I really just didn't have time. I had to take care of my babies, I had to take care of my kids. And so I wanted to pause because I felt like I was going into the story, but I was trying to end in this segment with something. So anyways, I just, raised my kids. I had a very sedentary lifestyle. I live in Arizona now, and a lot of that has to do with the fact that I fell in love with trail running and doing ultra marathons.
So back when I was 18, I did something called Camp America, and I was a counselor over in Michigan at a Girl Scouts camp. It was called Camp Anna Barons, my home in the woods. And the girls, I don't know if you heard of that camp.
I have not, but that's so
it'd be
cool.
so amazing if you'd heard of that camp. My home,
I know.
My home in the woods. But that was, what was amazing was that all the girls who attended the camp, they had to sell Girl Scout cookies as well. And so it was like such an amazing experience for them to go out. That was a choice. It was an amazing experience for me as well, like spending 8 weeks in the woods by a lake, living in cabins and doing, arts and crafts and swimming and horse riding and canoeing and stuff. I just thought could you imagine if that had been like a nexus? It'd be like, oh my God, I went to Camp Anna Barons.
I know, right?
I mean, the Girl Scouts were amazing. I think I became like an honorary Girl Scout, and they also trained me up in loads of different things. So it was I qualified in first aid, wilderness first aid, lifeguarding, and actually I got lifeguarding, and then I would, there was quite a few. At one point I was very overqualified in childcare, but I just wanted to sort of do, sort of move the story a little bit further along. So, I mean, intense, 16, pregnant with your first child, you're at college, you're doing a degree in maths and science, you're working a full-time job, you get a bit older, you've got more kids. And do you know what? I can totally understand why health and fitness is wasn't a priority, but it's almost be so difficult to even prioritize when you're just you've got babies to look after.
Absolutely.
Did anything change maybe when like the children got older or when you moved to a different state? Like how did you first get into like the health and the fitness?
So it would be nice if I had planned out doing health and fitness after the kids were grown. But no, it took an emergency room visit unexpectedly. I didn't even know how I got to the emergency room. But by the time I left, the doctor was like, look, you got high blood pressure, high cholesterol, you're borderline diabetic. At the time, I was weighing nearly 400 pounds. Didn't even know how I had gotten that heavy, but I wasn't looking at myself and I wasn't doing anything. I had a very sedentary lifestyle, was working and taking care of kids. And so the doctor also said something to me that was pretty critical in that moment, is that you're chronically depressed. And the truth was I had stopped caring. I had stopped, for the most part, really living. I think in many respects, I didn't really want to be here, but that moment shook me and it made me realize, look, if you don't want to be here, it looks like you're well on your way. But if you do want to be here, you might need to start making some changes. And I was in my mid-40s by then. So I said, okay, I'm going to live. I'm going to try to live at least. And I tell people I went to the gym was because I thought that's what everybody does, right? I had never been to a gym in my whole entire life. And, I went and I tried to use a treadmill, but I kept falling off. And then this guy at the gym came over and he said, look, do you mind if I help you? And I was like, yes, you can help me. And he did the beautiful thing of kind of instructing me on how to use the treadmill. And he said, look, I'm going to turn it on and I'm going to keep speeding it up. When it gets too fast, let me know and I'll stop it. I was like, okay. He said, what I've done is I've been able to figure out what speed you can go at. Okay. So now I'm going to put it on this speed because it should be comfortable for you. And then I want you to just go for as long as you can and then tell me to stop. And so I did that. And at the end of that session, I discovered I could go for 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour. That was just my level of fitness in that moment. But I tell people that that guy was a utter angel in my life because what he said at the end of that session was, good job. Now come back tomorrow and do it again.
One of the fears or concerns, or maybe this is what I'm thinking in my head, is like getting yourself to the gym. Like, was that like, were you like, I suppose, like scared or fearful? Like, were you worried, am I going to get judged here? Am I going to get supported here? Like, mentally, how was that?
It was all that. I was scared. I kind of stalked the gym a couple of times first. Then I came back. And then I remember distinctly that day that I went to the gym. It was in the morning. I had learned like when were the downtimes and there wasn't really a lot of people there. So like that between kind of 9 and 11. And so I went at that time because I thought, oh, it would be very few people there. No one would see me. I don't have to be worried about other people. And we'll try it. And my thing is when I went into the gym, I really thought it would be the first time I'd go in the gym and the last time I'd go in the gym, quite honestly, because I don't know. I'm in my mid 40s. I had never even gone to a gym. I didn't even know. I just knew that you watch all those Planet Fitness commercials, but or Biggest Losers and all that stuff, but still it's scary if you've never been.
I'm so glad that you had that interaction with that guy.
Yes.
Yeah, because actually like that could have been very different, but actually and this is why it's so important to be, I suppose, just supportive and encouraging.
Yes.
And also you've now got your benchmark, like 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour. Absolutely. Yeah. Like brilliant. Like actually, like that. And you started, and this is like, I suppose the struggle for so many people is actually taking the initial first step. And did you go back tomorrow? Did it continue?
So yes, it did continue. I think people always ask me, well, what was the big deal about him saying good job? First of all, no one had told me good job in decades. So the words really stuck with me. Secondly, he said it in a way there was no judgment.
Yeah.
In fact, he made me feel like, now come back tomorrow and do it again. Almost like, you can do this. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That was the energy that he gave me. And yeah, I came back the next day. I tell people I kept coming back every day. He did tell me on the way out that day, he said, look, and you will go faster and you will go for longer. And I was like, get out of here. Cause like, I don't care about that. Like, that's the least important thing to me. But I would keep coming back and I would come back. I would always like, okay, what do I do now that I've done 4 minutes or now that I've done 10 minutes or, I would go faster and I would go for longer. And then soon I never did meet the guy ever again, never saw him ever again. I didn't know he had played that kind of role in my life. Otherwise, I would look for him sooner. It was years later before I would start to look for him again. But I continued to walk. Walking turned into running. Running went outside, running on the roads and then on the trails. And I tell people 16 months later from that emergency room visit day, I was crossing the finish line of my first 50-mile ultramarathon. And I'm 100% sure it was because he said, good job. Now come back tomorrow and do it again. Because that's what I did every day. I just did what I could do. And I would do it again the next day and the next. And I did go faster and I did go for longer. I wish he could have been at the finish line because I know beyond a shadow of a doubt, he was the impetus for me being able to do what I was able to do. And so I tell people that doing that 50-mile ultra marathon, I tell people it's not even for me, it's not really even the ultra marathon. That's the big deal. For me, when I crossed the finish line on the 50-mile ultra marathon, I no longer had high blood pressure. I no longer had high cholesterol. I still was a big girl, but I was also mentally and emotionally changed. Like that desire to not live was completely gone. I wanted to live. And I think it took 50 miles for God to like tell me I deserved to live. And I finally listened. And so I just remember I remember sitting in my car after the race and just thinking to myself, 16 months ago, you was in an emergency room and you was on your way out. And here you are 16 months later, doing the unthinkable, doing stuff that less than 0.001% of the population even does.
Yeah.
And also being in a moment where I wanted to live. I had spent decades, depressed, regular SIs. And I just was like, I did not want to be here. But then all of a sudden I was alive and it felt good. I never even thought I would ever get to that moment. And there I was. So yeah, it was pretty profound, life changing. And I told people I didn't think I was going to do the ultramarathon because I had went from a 5K to a 10K to a half marathon to a full marathon. And then it was right before my full marathon that somebody said, oh, they have ultra marathons. And I was like, oh, that's what white people do. Black people do not do ultra marathons.
It's like, why are you telling me this now that there's further distance race?
Excuse me, I've done a lot and I don't need to do any more. But it intrigued me. And next thing I know, I was signing up for an ultra marathon. And the only reason why is because it was like 7 miles from my house. Nice. So I was like, oh, and it was like 4 months away. And I was like, oh, I got time to train. They had a couple training runs. I was like, okay. And I remember when I got to the start line, I was like, girl, just do what you can do. Don't even worry about trying to finish. But I would finish. And so that was pretty amazing too.
And has somebody now told you about the 100 milers, which are becoming more popular?
Yes. I'm definitely, I've done 100 miles. I've done a self-supported, my own 100-miler. So I will probably, do some races, at some point in time. Yeah, I want to do we have a race in Phoenix that's 250 miles. I definitely want to do that. I know there's a race in Tennessee that's 500 miles and I'm interested in that one as well. So yeah, you get addicted and next thing you know, you just want to do more miles. So
you mentioned being like, a bigger body. And just how easy was it finding the clothing to fit you?
Yeah. There was no clothing to fit me. And luckily for me, I'm a smart kid, so I'm going to figure out things. But I would go to, like I said, I would go to the thrift store. Me and thrift stores are best friends. And I would buy a couple of larges or a couple extra larges. And in Ann Arbor, you could check out a sewing machine from a library. So I would hack stuff together. That's what I did. Everything from running pants to shirts to a hydration. I just would try to figure it out, so you did whatever it took. But no, there just was not anything. I would buy stuff and then it would just ride up or ride down mostly off my body, which didn't work or was super uncomfortable or just, it was a struggle to find stuff to wear. That was back in the mid, 2013, 2015 area. So there wasn't a lot. No, not at all.
When did you get the idea for Conscious Gear?
Yeah, I got the idea for Conscious Gear. I moved to Arizona in 2020, the beginning of 2020, because I was doing a lot of ultra races and I thought to myself, I might as well move to an area. It was either Denver, Utah, or Arizona. And so I settled on Arizona. And so the pandemic happened. Then I moved. I'm here to do ultra races. Pandemic happened. There's no ultra races. So then I'm kind of forced to kind of deal with this ideal that I had a couple of years before about making hydration vests. But I think for me, I really struggled because I would say this. The first thing I thought to myself, Black people don't do outdoor stuff. like I didn't see us making stuff in the outdoor industry. So sometimes if you can have somebody you can look up to, it kind of makes it easier. But I said to myself, look, I think I did my first race 2015 and it was 2020 and the brand still hadn't made anything big enough to fit me. And I thought to myself, then I guess I got to take matters into my own hands because they're not going to do it. And so I just tried, and I tell people I had no expectations either. I think the thing I want to tell people is don't have expectations. Just kind of do what you could do and let the miracles happen. And so I said, okay, I'm going to try making this vest. And I hired an industrial designer. I was hacking myself, trying to make it myself, but really I just didn't have all the tools and resources to do that. So I brought people in to kind of help me figure it out and come up with the design and learn about manufacturing because it's a whole other language in itself. So that's how it started.
And do you want to share one of your wins that you had quite recently, October 2023?
I was super surprised because they sent me an email, USA Today, and they're like, this is embargo, meaning that you can't tell anybody, but you've been nominated as one of the top 10 outdoor products. And, yeah, I remember just crying. I remember crying because, I wasn't making the vest because I wanted to make a lot of money, but if I make a lot of money, that's good too. But I wanted other fat people like me to feel valued and seen and honored,
It's also a recognition of you and what you've achieved, not only in running, but also for taking this idea and, using your body and designing the running pack, the VestaPak, and getting it produced and manufactured. None of that is easy at all.
You're right. I think I am such a doer. It's so hard for me to just take a moment back and just honor the fact that people are honoring me,
Yeah.
I don't want to take credit.
You're the role model now. You're who Black women are going to look up to, and white women and other women who are going to be like, holy moly.
Yeah.
That was just, and obviously there's no comparisons, but
absolutely,
you went out 2 minutes, 2 miles per hour. And then 16 months later, you're out going after your goal of running a 50 miler, which is a huge distance. It's just such a long way. Have you noticed more women, more Black women, connecting with you, wanting to hear more about your story and your journey?
Yes. So many women reach out to me, so inspired. I'm always humbled and honored because I do want them to know you too can do whatever it is you want to do. And so, yeah, I'm kind of I was walk around Arizona and people are like, oh, that's the outdoor lady. She's the one that makes the outdoor gear, So it's kind of cool. But I hope what I'm thinking about now more is how do I really empower these women to take those first steps and get to their goals of wanting to do even a 5K or 10K or half or a marathon, doesn't matter.
When you look back on your journey, especially sort of going back to almost the beginning, after having that wake up call, which obviously really gave you the push that you needed to take the first step. And obviously one of the things that was most powerful was that good job. Now come back tomorrow and do it again, because there was no judgment there. It was just encouragement. What else would you have liked to have seen or heard that you think actually back when I was at the beginning of my journey, it would have been so beneficial if I had whatever it may be? Did you ever think about that, about what that could be?
I do know that I remember going shopping for active wear and never finding anything that really fit right. I tell people I'm lucky, I'm a smart girl, I'll figure things out, but I don't think the average person is like me. And they shouldn't have to be like me. That really there should be stuff available for people. Because that could have been so demoralizing. I could have easily quit. Every time I think about that, I'm like, I remember I was going to several different stores and I was like, damn, I can't, like I could have really just said, forget it. But I chose not to. And I just can imagine how many people probably do. So yeah, when I was back then, I would want these brands to know and understand, like, people need this. And that you're getting in the way of them really doing their very best to make their lives better by not just making available stuff that'll fit them.
Do you have any go-to brands that you go to at the moment? Any that you, or any that you found that you're like, actually, yeah, these are the companies who do sizes that will fit bigger bodies?
I think everybody is getting better. I like Girlfriend Collective. I'll give them a shout out. I will give a shout out to Lululemon. They do some good work. And then Fabletics and Gap. I think, some of the earlier brands that I used was Gap, because they went up to like 2X, 3X, and Fabletics was a member, and they started to increase in the sizes. So there was some brands that started. I mean, I think other brands are now doing a little bit more. But at the beginning, yeah, I remember that it was the Gap, it was Fabletics. That's where I got primarily almost everything I got in the beginning.
Did you ever join a run club? Like, was there much of like a running community?
I never really joined any running communities because I had to work and I had things to do. So I always ran like between 4 and 6 o'clock in the morning. And I tried to recruit people, but they were like, no, Charlotte, you're on your own. So yeah, I never really got into that. For me, I like running alone, honestly. It's my meditative and thinking space. I pretty much cherish it, and I just do it myself. And I know a lot of people get out a lot out of these running clubs, and I'm always about like run your own race, because I don't know, sometimes when I'm in groups, you got to kind of bend to their ways, and a lot of times that doesn't really work for me. Yeah. But I can see where some people get that support. You feel good about them, but that was never my jam for whatever reason.
Did you say 4 o'clock? Because you would be getting up to go for a run at 4 o'clock.
Yes. Ma'am.
Oh my God. Please tell me you're going to bed at a decent hour and getting enough sleep.
Yeah, I go to bed like 5, 9.
Okay. So 9 o'clock and then 4 o'clock, 4 a.m. You wake up. Do you sleep in your running clothes? Because that's what I would have to
do. No, I don't sleep in my running clothes. That's a good idea. I always make it easy and simple. It is laid out right there. So I get out the bed. Yeah, it's laid out. I just put stuff on, go to the bathroom, and then get out the door. So yes, I make it easy. I'm not going to be trying to pick out. No, it's already ready. Socks, shoes, hat, pack, whatever I need. It's all sitting there waiting for me as soon as I get up.
Are you sort of, and this may have changed, have you ever followed like a running program, or are you just sort of run, like, obviously you said, run your own race, or are you just more like, just go out and run and just for as long as you feel like it? Or are you a little bit more structured? Are you trying to get a certain either distance or run a certain time every day? What does that look like?
I think in the beginning, I got that guy's name, but he had to walk, run.
Jeffing.
He would walk a little. Yes.
Yeah.
I did that in the beginning. And then really over the years, I've become kind of zen about my running. And I've stopped trying to gain speed, but to listen to my body and allow it to do what it's going to do. I tell people I know if I can finish the race by the cutoff, I'm happy. I want to do this for a long time. I think when you're trying to go after PRs and speed and, time, like I see people all around me with overuse injuries. And so I'm like, I don't want to join the club. And so I just continue to do my own thing. No, I've never really taken any other programs. This is for me, Hannah. I just let it be for me and do it my way.
What advice would you share for women who are thinking, look, I can't run, but I know I need to change something in my life. Like, where do I even start? What advice would you like to say?
The number one piece of advice I would tell everyone to do about starting is do exactly what you can. Exactly what you can may only be 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour. It may seem so small and insignificant, but trust me, baby, you do that today, you do it again tomorrow, you do it again the next day, you will intuitively know how to do more, how to continue and further what it is you're trying to achieve. It's not rocket science. I'm telling you, it's just doing what you can. And the reason why it's important to do what you can is because it was interesting. This morning you had shared how you had started working out again, right? So you were talking about how I'm suffering from DOMs and all that. I said, because you did too much. My immediate thought was you did too much. You should have just did what the minimum was you could do, right? And then allowed yourself, your body and time to kind of get back into the groove. And then it won't be so painful. It won't hurt as much. You know what I mean?
But do you know what's funny is that actually when I was picking up the weights, I was like, I was really enjoying it. I was like, oh, but you think you can go back in at the level that you used to be at. And then you're just like, no, like I haven't strength trained for like 16 months or something. So actually I do need to be like, reduce the weights down. Don't push it as hard.
And I know we get frustrated, right? Because we're like, but I used to get lift 500 pounds. Used to. And my thing is this, you will lift it again. But right now you need to go back to a lower level and just give your body time to get used to this again. Your body didn't get to those 500 pounds overnight. What makes you think it's going to get there overnight this time? You know what I mean? So I really believe in the power of just starting where you are. Trusting the process. There are times I remember I've jumped from only being able to like walk for about 20 minutes to being able to walk for an hour. It just happened.
Yeah.
I didn't have to practice it. I didn't say, oh, let's just do it. Just happened. And so next thing I knew, I was walking for an hour. And the only thing I had done before is walk for 20 minutes. But my body was so used to me taking these incremental steps. It rewarded me with the ability to do an hour, kind of surprisingly.
Your body's adapted. It's almost like, one of my favorite exercises is yin yoga. And, and some of the longer sessions that I used to do would be like 90 minutes. When you get to a certain level, you do like 90 minutes. You're holding the pose for like 4 minutes, 4.5 minutes, something like that. But you can't, like, just like you said, you can't go back in, or I can't go back in and do a 90-minute session because I can't even sit back on my heels because and your feet go into your body and your ankle bends backwards because, I might explain that right. Yeah. If you would like to sit on your heels, so like your legs are on the floor, and it's like, I can barely do that for like 30 seconds. And actually you've got to build back up to it. And so it is do what you can, do more, keep doing more. And actually, I think I need to hear this as well. It's like, trust the process.
Yes.
I mean, endorphins, feel good factors, the endorphins do come from exercising. And so do you remember like one of those magical moments that you had when you were running, whether that was on a treadmill, whether it was out on a trail, whether it was finishing a race, starting a race, mid-race, where, I don't know, it's just like you just had this magical moment where you're like, oh my God, like I'm doing this, or, something happened which was really made it really special?
I do remember, I've had numerous times when this happened, but I remember distinctly when I would run the trails in Michigan, and there used to be this section where you would go up and down hills, and those ups sometimes were like really like to kill you. She thought it was going to kill you. But I remember, I remember telling myself, it's against me and the hill. I'm like, I'm not letting this hill win. And then I just kind of dropped into a Zen moment. I said, just do the hill as best as you can. And I remember just going up with so much ease and then coming over. And I always tell people, I think in that moment when I surrendered, that the ancestors came and they carried me up the hill and carried me down the hill. And I would have subsequent moments like that, going forward. But I just realized that I wasn't alone in this. I realized that I don't have to do all the work, and that really beautiful and magical things can happen in the outdoors. And so for me, I'll just never forget that moment of feeling like, oh, I'm being carried. Even though I'm on my feet, it felt like I was being carried. And I give honor to the ancestors, because I feel like, I'm a spiritual person. So, and I think those are the beautiful moments because I think I have endorphin highs. Don't get me wrong. I love those as well. But when I am carried while I am doing my running thing, that's good for me because it's like the guy telling me, good job. It's somebody holding me up. I don't have to do all the work because as a super Black woman, I have the syndrome, being helped and supported and guided and loved and nurtured and carried means the world to me. And so I know like anything's possible because I know I don't have to do it all.
Can we talk in more detail about your 50-mile race, just your 50-miler? What was it like being on the start line? What was going through your head? Did you have friends and family around? Was it just you out there? Talk us through that journey and what it was like out on that race course.
I never told anybody when I was doing races. And the reason why is because I said, well, there's no sense of people knowing until I finish. So no one was there for me at that 50 mile. I remember that morning, it was dark. It was super dark. And it usually gets dark in the morning, in Michigan, but it seemed a little extra dark. And so I caught myself trying to be on the sidelines of the starting line. But somehow this group of people pushed me kind of in the middle. And then they took off. And I remember the first several miles were really tough because somehow I was in line with the front of the pack. They were going fast as fuck. And I'm like, I don't run this fast. I don't run this fast. But you couldn't stop because it was a single trail. It was like, I was like, what the fuck's going on? I can't stop. And I can't run this fast. And so I just kept running. And then, it weeds out. I think it was like 2.5 miles later, stuff starts to kind of thin out and the track gets bigger. And so you can fall to the wayside and slow down and do everything like that. But, I remember, oh my God, I was going it didn't feel like I was going fast though, but I knew I was going fast because I happened to know that trail. So I knew, I'm like, damn, we already done a mile. Like I was like, oh my God, like that was only a few minutes to me. And so I realized, I would realize later on, like, oh no, it's because you were going fast. Because when I finished my first loop, it was super fast. And it was like, no way, I don't run that fast. But I realized it was at the beginning of the race that I kind of got swelled up in this group of runners that were really running super fast. And like I said, when I finished that first loop, I was like, wow, that was quick. And I felt like shit. So it's like I got 2 more loops to go. And so I said to myself, okay, well, we're going to take it easy on this next loop. And that's exactly what I did. I love that people at the aid station. I forever love people at the aid stations. I only finish races because of people at the aid stations who's like, let me fill up your water. What do you need now? You need to change your clothes. They just help you, right? They're like, they will do almost anything for you, from take your shoes off to massage you to feed you if you want. So it's really people at the aid station. There's one guy in particular. He was just like, you can do this, Charlotte. Keep going. Let's go. We got to do this next loop. And I'm like, okay. So I went to do my next loop. And then when I came around to do my third loop, it was less dramatic for me. I remember thinking, okay, well, we did the first 2 loops. I scanned my body. I'm like, you're a wreck, but you're not a complete wreck. So let's just see what else we can do. And also, again, I still had more time, which it just really surprised me that I was accomplishing so much in such a shorter amount of time. And I thank those runners in the beginning because they probably helped push me more mileage quicker than I would have done. And then I tell people the third loop was a little rough, but there was this moment. It was at the 48th mile line. I knew exactly where we were. I knew I had 2 more miles to go. And something in me, it hit me and I started to cry and I fell to the ground and I balled up like a baby. In that moment, I realized here I am 48 years old. I'm at the 48th mile of my first 50-mile ultramarathon, and I know I'm going to finish.
Oh,
yeah. Who would have thought that the fat, Black, queer, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, borderline diabetic, clinically depressed woman would be here in this moment? Who would have thought that? But there I was. And there were many moments in that race when I know the ancestors carried me because I don't even remember those miles. But I cried because I was like, you could be dead right now.
yeah.
But you are so alive. You are alive in ways that other people will never be alive as you. and that you are worthy and you deserve it. And so I got up and I did those last 2 miles, and I just remember thinking, wow, what the difference 16 months can make if you just start at 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour.
You're making me want to go outside and go for a run right now. Like,
No,
oh.
I just think we think it takes so much, and it doesn't.
Mm.
I swear to you guys, it don't take much, but just do what you can and then keep adding on to that. I just wish people could experience what I experienced. I just wish they could.
Well, no, you're explaining it in such a way that I'm sure it is, like, it's motivating people to be like, okay, I want to experience this as well. Like, I want to go from where I am at this moment in time to that place, to whether it's being 48 and running 48 miles, or, running 50 at age 48, or just doing something where you're doing something for you and you're moving your body and you're just in a completely different place. But that's because of taking that first step, and like going into the gym, getting onto that treadmill, doing that initial 2 minutes. Like, everybody has to start somewhere. Crossing the finish line. Did you have more emotions? Because I suppose, or had all the emotions sort of hit at that 48 miler, and then you had 2 miles just to sort of, I suppose, reflect more?
No, I had even more emotions. I mean, and people gathered around me, and I had so many emotions. I fell to the ground again, and then people gathered around me, and they were just so supportive, stuff like that. And this woman, she kept trying to get through. She was like, "Here, got to put your medal on."
Yes, absolutely.
Like, you've earned this, so hunty, let's get this on you right now. And yeah, I just knew in that moment, my life would never be the same. Just would not. It could not. I tell people, when you do a 50-mile race, you feel beast mode. Yeah. And there's not much people can say to you or do to you. You know what I mean? Because you're like, have you ran 50 miles? Okay, then, I really have nothing. I don't need to listen to you.
You have proved it to yourself that you can do seriously hard things. So I suppose whenever something challenging comes up and you're thinking, how am I going to figure this out? What am I going to do? At least one of your starting places can be, it's like, hold on, I ran 50 miles starting from zero to in 16 months. Then, okay, then I can figure this out. I suppose the words that are springing to my mind is like grit, resilience, like determination, focus, just this positive mental attitude of getting out there. And I suppose when it did get tough out there, you've talked about, like, sort of connecting with your ancestors and almost like, getting in flow. And were there other like mental tips and tricks that you'd learned along the way that you sort of could rely on to get you up and to keep you going, so that actually, every time you came back in through a checkpoint, you weren't like, no, I can't continue. Did you ever have those thoughts where you're like, I'm not going to finish this, or I can't finish this? Or is it always like, no, I am going to finish this?
I think it was somewhere in the middle. Yeah. I always tell people, like, when I get up in the morning, I always tell myself, good job.
Yeah.
Now do your best. All I ask is for you to do your best. So if you go out of the door and you only go half a mile and you got to come back, that's the best you can do. I'm satisfied and I'm happy. I tell people I don't wrap my mind around 50 or 100 miles. Why? It's devastating. It's too much. I tell people I keep my mind on 1 mile at a time.
Yeah.
So when I'm at the point when I don't want to, like, you at the 37 mile, maybe 48, and you're like, oh, I don't know if I can do this. I always tell myself, okay, well, let's just get to the next aid station. Let's get to that tree over there that you like so much. Or let's, I just give myself these opportunities to try to get a little further along, because I know this, that it gets better. Yes, it's tough in this moment. It gets better, which is a metaphor for life. Shit's going to happen. Shit's going to be hard. Yes, but let's just get through it. Because just right there, right over there, is so much better. But let's get there. Even if I always just tell myself, I said, even if you have to crawl, sliver, honey, to get there. Let's just do what we can do. Again, it's like not expecting, but expecting, not being too hard on yourself, but knowing you can do what you need to do.
Yeah. You moved over to, to Arizona because you wanted to focus on like your ultra running and stuff. And how is your running going at the moment? Like, what are some of the races?
Horribly.
No. What's happened?
First of all, the pandemic happened. Secondly, I thought I was going to have the trails to myself, but during the pandemic, honey, that's where everybody went to.
Yeah.
So it was hard to really trade a focus out there with all those people. And then this thing called Conscious Gear came along. I was like, what, girl, what? And it has really consumed a lot of my time. I was telling my mentors, I've been telling them this last year, something's got to give. I said, because I didn't do this for me not to be able to do the one thing that saved my life. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I won't be able to give the Conscious Gear if I'm too long away from the thing that saved my life. The only reason why Conscious Gear is where it's at is because of trail running. You know what I mean? But if I don't do it, I'm never going to be able to bring all of me to Conscious Gear. So yeah, I'm getting back in the groove. I got plans for some races next year. I'm training now, just trying to get back on track. And I am allowing the business to do what it's going to do. But Charlotte has to be on the trails. I can't, it's been years and I just, I worked too hard to get to where I was at. I don't want to lose that. It has met, I remember I think it was about 4 or 5 months ago. I got on treadmill and I said, boo, let's just start at 2 minutes at 2 minutes.
Yeah.
And I did 2 minutes at 2 miles per hour. It's super easy and everything like that. But I was like, baby, it's okay. Like, remember, we started here, so this is okay. And so it was a beautiful moment for me to just kind of be like, okay, yeah, we might just have to only do 2 minutes today. And that's cool. So
thank you for sharing that, because actually it's the realities of I just don't know how people fit it in, especially when you've got either kids or elderly parents, you've got a job and like a side hustle. And then it's, to train for these bigger races, it is a time commitment to going, for going out. And also you've got to sleep. Like you can't please don't wake up any earlier. 4 has got to be the minimum, maybe 4:30.
Right.
What changes are you making to make running more of a priority? And are there any practical steps, or are you just having to step back, say no more? Is there anything that you're doing which is that you found, okay, yeah, this is working for me now?
I think I really had to come to Jesus meeting with myself and said, I asked myself, I said, well, do you really want to do this? And the answer kept coming up. Yes, I really do love the trail running. I really do. I love doing the races and I love being out there. So what it has meant is that I've had to hire people to do things for the business. And also I'm just at the point where, look, I'm going to do the best I can as around this business. I've released the success of this business. I'm not going to sacrifice me for this business. I said, this business is meant to go. It's meant to be successful. Then the resources will come to bring the team, will bring, you know what I mean? So I'm now I'm on a schedule where I get up in the morning and I honor me first, nothing else, me. If the rest works out, cool. If it don't, cool. But at least Charlotte's back out on the trails. Charlotte's back doing the thing that she loves, that brings her peace and joy and healing. Yeah. So we'll see. Maybe next year I'll be singing another song. I don't know. But I'm cool with whatever song I'm going to sing next year. But the song I am going to be singing is that I'm out on the trails.
Yeah. And sometimes there's power in almost letting go, just
for sure.
Yeah. It's especially sometimes things should be easy. It shouldn't be you're trying to push a rock up a mountain. Sometimes there's got to be, I don't know, alignment where things just work out. And actually, I love this. Me first. And absolutely. That is not a bad thing to do, to put yourself first at all. It's, I think all women should do it. I was going to say, all say together with me now, me first, me first, me first. Absolutely, make yourself a priority. You are a priority. You're such an important part. Yeah, love that. And where are you most active on social media? How can people find out more about you and also, find out more about Conscious Gear, so they can, I don't know, support you in any way possible?
Absolutely. You can catch me on Instagram. I'm at Conscious Gear 1. There's another Conscious Gear who I hope to buy that from him one day. But until then, we're at Conscious Gear 1 on Instagram. And then I'm on YouTube at Conscious Gear. And so I plan to be a little bit more active on that and really just share more of my journey, because business is business. But, I didn't get here because of business. I got here because of my journey. So, yeah.
Yeah. And honestly, thank you so much for sharing more of your journey. Like, it's just been so inspiring. And I love what you're doing for yourself, but also what you're doing for bigger bodies and creating gear. Like, it is absolutely amazing. And Charlotte, I would love for you to have the final words. So, final words of advice, final words of wisdom that you would like to share. And you can take that in any direction that you would like. Obviously, we've already talked about, starting out, but anything that you've learned on your journey that you would like other women specifically to know, but please don't say just do it. Any other tips and advice?
I just want to say to everybody out there, good job. I don't care if you've done nothing or you've done something. It's still a good job. However, I need you to get up tomorrow and do more. Okay? Because I know you can, and that I'm with you and that I love you and I support you and that we are on this journey together. Don't get it twisted. You are not alone. I am here with you as well. And just know, I promise you, God is my witness. You will see bigger and better and greater and more healing and more positive, more prosperous things happen in your life. So good job, fam. I'm here for you.
Oh, and good job, Charlotte. Charlotte.
You're so awesome. Girl, I could talk to you all day. Really good.
Thank you. Like, you just shared in such a beautiful way. Like, I just know that this will resonate with so many women who are just like, actually, I do just need to get on that bike or just get on that treadmill and just start. Okay, yeah, 2 minutes, 2 miles an hour, or get on the bike and cycle for a minute or 60 seconds, whatever it is, then go again tomorrow. But if you don't start, you're never going to get better. Tribe, thank you so much for listening to that episode. And like I said at the end, if you don't start, you're never going to get better. And this is what I want for you. I want you to start. I want you to take that first step. And to be honest, by listening to this Tough Girl podcast, you've already taken the first step. You're obviously interested in moving forward, in going after new adventures and new challenges. You want to stretch yourself. You want to challenge yourself. You want to sign up for a new race, whether it's running an ultramarathon, doing a triathlon, just stepping outside of your comfort zone. So the fact is, you have started, but now you've got to keep on going. What is next for you? Listen to more episodes of the Tough Girl podcast. Start Googling a gym, a run club. Buy your trainers, get your running gear on, get your sports gear on. Start today. Get outside, get active, get moving. Do it for you. Do it for your life, for your health, to benefit your mind and your emotional needs. Like, moving your body, releasing those endorphins, it can and will change your life. And that's what I would love for you to do, is to just carry on, to sign up for a challenge, to step outside your comfort zone and to just push yourself. So a lot of people don't hear this. I normally say it at the end, but I believe in you. So now is the time to take action and to take action. Do it. If you've been waiting for a sign, this is your sign. I don't really know what else I can say apart from please do start. Take that first step. It will make such a difference in your life. If you are looking for more inspiration, then please do visit toughgirlchallenges.com. On the website, there's more information about me. There's more information about the incredible women that I've spoken to. The podcast has been running since 2015. There's over 700 episodes for you to listen to. I have made it slightly easier in that I have got a dedicated resources page broken down into different challenges. So whether it's mountaineering, climbing, running, thru-hiking, swimming, etc., there is a dedicated page with all of the women that we've spoken to. So if you are into ultra running, then you can go and visit the page dedicated to ultra runners. There's also ones for runners up to marathon distance, so whichever one that you're going for. And then you can just listen to these women sharing their stories, providing advice and top tips to motivate and inspire you. Sarah Perry, she's an innovator ambassador. She set a record on the Southwest Coast Path of running 630 miles. Absolutely incredible. We've spoken to a performance psychologist, Dr. Kaz Williams. She's a certified running coach and ultra runner. She's striving to help people discover their mettle. Sarah Crossland, she shared more about running from Land's End to John O'Groats. We've spoken with Jackie Hunt Brosman. She's an ultra runner. She's an amputee. She's a cancer survivor. She's a Guinness World Record holder. She's run 104 marathons in 104 days. We've spoken to Grace Natoli, 70 plus marathons and ultras, including New York, Chicago, London, Paris, Berlin. She's passionate about diversifying the trails. Kerry Wallace, founder and mountain leader at Girls on Hills, sky runner, fell runner, and ultra runner, encouraging more women to hit the trails and venture into the mountains. She shares more about equity and inclusivity in trail running. So many incredible episodes, so many stories for you to listen to. So please do go and give it a listen. Little mini update from me. What am I up to beginning of November? So I'm currently really focusing on my ankle strength. If you've been following along with some of my hikes on the Southwest Coast Path and in New Zealand, you'll realize that sometimes I go over quite badly on my ankles. And the last one I did on the Southwest Coast Path, honestly, I thought I had broken something, but I was able to walk on it and I can always walk through it. But it's getting to the point now where it's starting to affect me mentally in terms of I'm getting worried about my ankles, and I don't need to be, but I went to see a physio. I'm following a physio's instructions. He basically says, if I do these exercises 15 minutes every day for the next 10 days, I'm going to see him again. That should make a massive difference, and it should not be fixed, but it will be on the right path to strengthening the ankles. I'm also working with my personal trainer, Franco, and we are doing about 15 minutes every time I see him, focusing on my ankle strength and mobility, doing sort of different types of exercises. So it is a real focus of mine. Ankle strength, ankle strength, ankle strength. The thing that I actually found really useful is I actually went on Instagram and just typed in like ankle mobility and ankle strength. And there's so many great people giving you tips and advice and showing you different movements that you can do. And sometimes that's what I do. I'm doing the physio stuff, I'm working with my PT, but also I'm doing these extra little bits of ankle strength, maybe only 5 or 10 minutes a day, not a huge amount of time, but it's really quite fun to do that. And I actually feel as though I am making a huge amount of progress. But I'm working with Franco on mobility. I'm seeing him once a week. I'm back to strength training again. I'm doing 3 times a week, focusing on sort of strength. And to be honest, I just want to get strong again. I just want to be able to get my pull-ups back. I want to do a 100k deadlift. I just want to be able to bench press and move my body better and just have more strength. So those are my goals over the next next couple of months. And yeah, that is what I'm working on. If you want to see more of that, then I do share a lot on Instagram at Tough Girl Challenges. So please do come and follow along. What are you working on? What are your focuses? What are your goals over the coming months? Have you started to think about 2025? I'd love to hear from you. Do send me an email, sarah@toughgirlchallenges.com. It's always great to be kept up to date about your adventures, challenges, and what you're working towards. Number one rule of the Tough Girl podcast is please don't compare yourself to anyone else. No comparisons allowed. You do you. You know your body. You know what your areas of weakness. So for me at the moment, it's ankles. A couple of years ago, it was glutes. For you, it might be like, oh, it's my shoulders or it's my knees. Whatever it is, work on those weaknesses. Spend a couple of minutes each day working towards them and improvements. Progress does take time, but you're not going to see progress unless you start. Thank you again for listening to the podcast. If you'd like to support the work that I do, then please visit Patreon, patreon.com/Tough Girl Podcast. You can sign up as a monthly patron or an annual patron. If you're a patron, you can come and join the closed Facebook community, the Tough Girl Tribe. If you're not in a position at the moment to support financially, totally get it. But I would love for you to share the Tough Girl Podcast with one friend. Share about it on social media. It really does make a difference. It really does promote and share the incredible women out there whose voices don't get heard. So please do tell your friends, tell your peers, tell members of your run club, share it on an email newsletter, write about it in your blog, tag me on your social media at Tough Girl Challenges. It really does help to spread the message. Thank you again for listening. All that's left for me to say is wherever you are, whatever you are doing, give it your all, give it 110%, get after it, go for it, believe in yourself because I believe in you. Take care, lots of love, and I'll speak to you soon. Bye.